featuring views of the route with segments of several streets that pilgrims and tourists often walk in Jerusalem to reflect on the Passion of Christ. We will complete the first half of our second-day DIY walk tour, covering key locations and events associated with the Latin term Via Dolorosa, meaning sorrowful ways or way of suffering, believed to be the path Jesus walked bearing the cross, from Praetorium where he was tried and condemned, to the place of his crucifixion. We began at a compound in the Muslim Quarter that claims to be the site of Jesus' trial and condemnation, combining the first and second stations. Judgment of Jesus by Pontius Pilate. In the New Testament, Jesus' trial is described as taking place in Jerusalem at the Praetorium, the official residence of a Roman governor, traditionally identified as the former Antonia fortress, a large Roman fortress built by Herod the Great in Jerusalem. It was on the northwest corner of the Temple Mount, used as a base for Roman soldiers. This site is now represented by the Church of the Flagellation. The church is claimed to be where Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who judged Jesus, condemned him to death, primarily on charges of blasphemy and claiming to be the King of the Jews, which was seen as a challenge to both Jewish religious authority and Roman political control. From the Church of the Flagellation, we will move to the Church of the Condemnation and Imposition of the Cross. A relief near this church illustrates the Stations of the Cross, showing that the trial occurred at the Antonia fortress, where the temple once stood, and the execution took place outside the city walls at Golgotha. The Church of the Condemnation and Imposition of the Cross, a Roman Catholic church nestled within the Franciscan monastery, is situated at the traditional second station of the cross, where Jesus carried his cross. This tradition is based on the assumption that an area of Roman flagstones, discovered beneath the building and beneath the adjacent convent of the Sisters of Zion, are those of Gabbatha, the pavement which the Bible describes as the location of Pontius Pilate's judgment of Jesus. Catholic tradition includes 14 stations of the cross, from Jesus' trial to his burial and resurrection. The New Testament details only 7 of these events, with the remaining 7 based more on tradition than scripture, though they have some historical basis. Turkey and Israel were not our first choice destinations for this trip. However, whenever we recall the challenges that arose just a few weeks after we left Israel, which the region is still facing, we can't help but feel emotional and even more grateful to have stepped foot in this historical land. To have one full, uninterrupted actual video footage of our walk, we headed back to the Church of the Flagellation. Alongside other information mentioned earlier, some additional significant details about the chapel include: it's designed to reflect the end of Jesus' trial. To shame him, a crown of thorns was placed on his head, and the chapel's ceiling is crafted to resemble that crown, complete with drops of blood. Following the Roman custom of the times, those who were condemned to death were obliged to walk through the city, with their name and details of their conviction displayed. For Jesus, he carried the cross, which was used for his execution, to Golgotha, where he was crucified. This complex, believed to be the Antonia fortress, or part of it, was once a towering military stronghold, built by Herod the Great around 35 BCE. Walking through the area of the feels like standing at the intersection of history and faith. Once a symbol of Roman power, it is now a shadow of the past, believed to be near where Jesus was condemned and took up his cross, the first and second stations of the cross. This connection deepens the reflection on how empires fall, yet faith and resilience endure. Though the fortress is long gone, its absence tells a powerful story of sacrifice and survival, echoing the enduring spirit of faith. Like the places we visited earlier, although there were other tourists, it wasn't too crowded. It's time for us to leave the complex and continue the walk along the Via Dolorosa. Different Christian denominations emphasize certain traditions and stations over others. For most pilgrims, the exact location of the events is of little importance compared to the deep meaning the route holds, and its proximity to the original events. Via Dolorosa is not a street but a route. After eating with his disciples at the Last Supper, Jesus went to Gethsemane. He was caught and surrendered to the Romans, who sentenced him to die by crucifixion. The route Jesus took from the place of his judgment to the site of his crucifixion on Mount Calvary is sacred in Christianity. This final and fateful route is the Via Dolorosa. The route was established in the 18th century. As we walk through the streets, shops selling souvenirs, spices, and religious items line the road, creating a lively contrast to the serious atmosphere of the Via Dolorosa. Despite the commercial activity, there's still a sense of respect in the air as we walk along this traditional path. The path to the third station goes through narrow, twisting streets with stone buildings and arches, mixing old history with everyday modern life. As we walked down the street, there were many interesting sights. We couldn't resist entering through this gate first, where the Basilica of Ecce Homo is visible behind the glass. The church is part of the convent of the Sisters of Zion. The name Ecce Homo translates to "Behold the man" in Latin, which is a phrase attributed to Pontius Pilate during the trial of Jesus before his crucifixion. The church is built on the site where, according to tradition, Jesus was presented to the crowd by Pilate. The area around the church has archaeological remains from various periods, including remnants of a Roman road. Being observant while walking is very helpful because there are many significant sites that are not usually featured in videos and vlogs. Like this second site, which wasn't part of our plans. Only a minute's walk from the Ecce Homo Church is the Greek Orthodox Patriarchate of Jerusalem, home to the prison of Christ. We were fortunate that the door was open, allowing us to enter, as the monastery is usually inaccessible when the doors are closed. The monastery is generally open between 10 a.m. and midday. The days are not confirmed and not consistent. It is best to continue to visit every morning until you find it open. It does not open at all in the afternoons. There is also a Latin version of the Jail of Jesus Christ on the same road, but the Greek Orthodox location is said to be the accurate place Christ was jailed. Christians believe Christ was imprisoned at the Praetorium after being taken to Caiaphas and Annas, and is where the mocking and crown of thorns took place. The other two men crucified along with Christ were also kept in this jail. As we went down the stairs, it felt like our destination was getting deeper, leading us to a site built in the 18th century, atop ancient caves and basements. The atmosphere in the cave was calm and peaceful, making it a welcoming place to explore. The air felt fresh, and there was a gentle stillness that added to the sense of history surrounding us. As for the temperature, it was just right, not too hot and not too cold. It felt comfortable, allowing us to enjoy our time inside without feeling uncomfortable or chilly. This perfect temperature, combined with the cave's unique atmosphere, made the experience truly special. The underground sections are also well lighted. This Greek Orthodox zone complex is also called the Holy Monastery of the Praetorium. A set of caves under the building is presented to pilgrims as a local detention facility. The smallest cave believed to be one of several locations as the prison of Jesus after his arrest. We continued to follow the stairs, aiming to reach the smallest cave. The monastery, carved into the heart of the cave, looks well maintained. Our cave adventures that started in Cappadocia continue in Jerusalem as we explore new underground landscapes, rich in history and spirituality. It deepened our appreciation for these remarkable places. As we continued our exploration, each step brought us closer to our destination. We have reached the final floor of the monastery. Our visit to this site wasn't part of our plan, and we had no prior knowledge about it. As a result, we didn't notice the sign right away that indicated this narrow opening leads to the prison of Jesus. Even without speaking, I could sense the excitement between us as we approached the narrow passage to the cave. As we stepped closer, the atmosphere grew with anticipation, amplifying the weight of the moment. The narrow opening seemed almost hidden, tucked away in the shadows of the cave. The dim light illuminated the walls, as if echoing whispers of the past, hinting at the historical significance of the space we were in. Together, we shared a quiet reverence for this sacred site, feeling a connection to the stories it held. This scene, depicted in the mosaic above, shows Jesus with a leg placed in each hole and chained at the bottom to prevent his escape. This intimate experience in such a small, confined area felt monumental, as if we were standing in a place where history unfolded, adding a profound layer to our journey together. As I edit these video clips, the emotions I felt while we were there vividly return to me. While there are several places believed to be the prison of Christ, the profound connection we experienced at this particular site was undeniable. Maybe it's because visiting the site wasn't part of our plan, or because we knew nothing about it beforehand. It was our first time learning about the place, and we hadn't seen it in any videos. Or perhaps it was something deeper, tied to its association with Christ's suffering for the salvation of the world. Maybe it was a combination of all these factors. One thing we are sure of is that the visit to the prison of Christ was one of the highlights of our Via Dolorosa walk. Although it's not part of the Stations of the Cross, it remains an integral part of Christ's journey during the Passion. As we stepped out of the Praetorium cave, the atmosphere shifted. The dim lighting and the quiet echo of our footsteps were replaced by the bright sun shining on the streets and the sounds of conversation. The contrast between the cave's solemnity and the lively street was striking. As we continued our walk, the city's vibrant life surrounded us. The journey of the Passion continued to unfold. Perhaps it was the lunch break for these students, and they are heading home to have lunch. The streets of Jerusalem carry both the past and the present, living and breathing with the rich tapestry of history that envelops them. Amidst this historical backdrop, the streets are vibrant with the pulse of contemporary life. Children head to school while locals bustle about. This intertwining of past and present in the streets of Jerusalem creates a unique atmosphere, a living museum where every stone tells a story, and every face reflects the city's rich heritage. We are just a few steps away from the third and fourth station. As we draw nearer, the sounds around us grow more vibrant. As we approach the T-junction, the atmosphere became even more lively. The once quieter streets now buzzed with energy, as more and more people filled the area. The crowd had grown significantly, with most of them being tourists like us, likely sharing the same curiosity we felt. The air was alive with the hum of conversations in various languages, adding to the dynamic, multicultural vibe of the place. The further we walked, the more it became clear that this intersection wasn't just a meeting point for streets, but also for cultures and experiences. It felt as though the entire city had converged in this one lively spot, where tourists, locals, and shop owners all blended together in a shared moment of exploration and discovery. We made a U-turn. Swept up by the atmosphere, we were momentarily detached from our plans and went past a consecutive station. An arch reading Armenian Catholic Patriarchate is where it is believed Jesus fell for the first time. Though the event commemorated in this chapel is not mentioned in the Bible, it still draws visitors for its powerful symbol of the Passion of Christ. We weren't able to enter, as it seems entry must be arranged in advance. Adjacent to the third station is the fourth station, the Armenian Church of Our Lady of the Spasm. Inside, there is a remarkable 5th century mosaic floor featuring an eerie pair of sandals, said to mark Mary's footprints. commemorating the moment when Mary watched her son pass by carrying the cross. From a distance, we could see that the door was closed, so we didn't go in. Other tourists, also unable to get into the third station chapel, asked the man admitting people about access, but he was too busy to respond to their questions. We continued our walk along the Via Dolorosa. More shops are open along this alley that runs from the 4th to the 5th station. As we strolled through the lively streets, we will soon arrive at the chapel of Simon of Cyrene, commemorating the biblical episode in which Simon of Cyrene takes Jesus' cross and carries it for him. The gate of the Franciscan chapel, built in 1895, bore the Latin inscription, Simon of Cyrene hopes to bear the cross. On the right side of the doorway, near the corner of the wall at shoulder level, there's a smooth stone with an indentation. According to Christian tradition, the hollow was created when Jesus stumbled and rested his hand on the wall. Centuries of pilgrims' touch have deepened and smoothed the stone. 2,000 years ago, this city was framed by hills and valleys, with rugged paths and sacred sites spread across a natural landscape. In Jesus' time, the Via Dolorosa would have wound through narrow streets, passing ancient stone structures and open spaces, surrounded by the noise of Roman soldiers, merchants, and pilgrims. Fast forward to modern-day Jerusalem, and much has changed. The landscape of hills and valleys remains, but the city has spread into every corner, sprawling across the once open terrain. Residential neighborhoods, government buildings, and busy marketplaces now fill the spaces where olive groves and rocky paths once lay. Today, the Via Dolorosa is a major pilgrimage route, with churches built along much of its path. Tourists from all over the world walk these streets, tracing the steps of Jesus through a city that blends the ancient with the modern. This door leads to the chapel, known as the Chapel of the Holy Face, or the House of Saint Veronica, traditionally regarded as the home of Saint Veronica, and the site of the miracle when Veronica paused to wipe the blood and sweat off Jesus' face with her veil, and his image was imprinted on the cloth. Today, a replica of the Holy Mandolin, also known as the Holy Face or Veil of Veronica, a sacred Christian relic believed to bear the miraculous image of Jesus Christ, created when he wiped his face with a cloth, is placed inside the Chapel of Holy Face. Entry to the churches or chapels that commemorate the events of the Via Dolorosa is free, but there's no guarantee of entry. At the 4 stations we visited, all the doors at stations 4, 5, and 6 were closed, restricting access to those sites. Walking along the old city, we feel the soft, pale yellowish limestone known as Jerusalem stone, enveloping the landscape, bringing us back to a very distant past that is no longer in existence. The subtle variations in color range from creamy beige to light golden tones. Some areas exhibit a more rosy or reddish tint, especially in the light of dawn or dusk, giving the city a warm glow. At this moment, the door is open, where the 7th station of the cross is marked. Inside the chapel is a tall stone column that aligns with a famous ancient street called the Courtyard. In the chapel, a relief sculpture shows Jesus kneeling with the cross on his back. The chapel built by the Franciscans in 1875, marking the event that is part of the traditional Stations of the Cross, where Jesus fell for the second time. This chapel is composed of stones in various shapes and hues. Additionally, it appears that there is an excavation in this section as well. As we exited the chapel, we made our way toward the site of the last 5 stations. In the process, we unintentionally skipped the 8th and 9th stations, commemorating the meeting of Jesus and the women of Jerusalem and the third fall of Jesus. Within the sites, we find moments of tranquility, while the streets are filled with the lively sounds of various people. The blend of silence in the chapels and the vibrant life on the streets around us creates a unique atmosphere. During the time of the Roman Empire, particularly around the 1st century AD, during the period when Jesus lived, The old city was divided into different quarters or neighborhoods, with narrow streets, market areas, and residential homes. There was a mix of people, Jews, Romans, and other ethnic groups, making the city diverse in culture and commerce. Roman soldiers were a common presence, enforcing the rule of the Roman Empire, which dominated the political landscape. The old city of Jerusalem today is a vibrant, bustling place, filled with a mix of modern life and ancient history. Divided into different quarters, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and Armenian, the narrow streets are packed with people from all walks of life, representing different faiths and cultures. Merchants line the streets, selling everything from spices and textiles to souvenirs for the countless visitors who pass through each day. The stations that mark Jesus' journey now wind through the crowded streets of the Muslim and Christian quarters, amidst the noise of merchants selling spices, textiles, and souvenirs. Each station is housed within a bustling, modern cityscape. The path we have been following along the Via Dolorosa can best be described as a traditional market or bazaar, much like those commonly found in Middle Eastern countries. It exudes an authentic and vibrant atmosphere, both historic and alive. The vendors are not aggressive. We were free to explore and walk around without being pressured or interrupted by the sellers. During our time here, we observed the locals' sense of simplicity. Despite the bustling environment and the weight of history surrounding them, they seem to navigate their lives with an easy grace, embracing a relaxed pace. This peaceful approach to life is truly inspiring, serves as a reminder of the value of simplicity in our own lives. No matter how much research we did, nothing truly compares to the experience of being her in person. Walking the Via Dolorosa, seeing the historic sights, and feeling the atmosphere firsthand is an entirely different and profound experience. The sights, sounds, and emotions that come with retracing such a significant path bring the history and tradition to life in a way that no book or video ever could. We are now drawing nearer to the final 5 stations, slowly approaching the culmination of our journey along the Via Dolorosa. Each step brings us closer to the heart of this sacred path, where the most profound moments of Jesus' passion unfolded. These narrow streets, still lined with shops, lead us to the entrance opposite from where we started earlier, toward the towering presence of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where the journey comes to an end, but the story of faith endures. And like earlier during mid-morning, when the streets were relatively quiet and there were few people around, the scene has changed dramatically. Tourists fill the area, a testament to the popularity of this sacred site. The modest steps just outside the church lead us to the 10th station, marking the moment where Jesus is stripped of his garments. We anticipated a larger crowd inside by this time, and sure enough, as soon as we approached the entrance, we saw a large group of people already gathered. Only a few hours had passed since we were last here, but the change in atmosphere was striking. Knowing how quickly this place fills up, we came earlier to enjoy some quiet, reflective moments alone before the crowds arrived. Now, the entire reddish flat stone of Unction, which commemorates the moment when Jesus was taken down from the cross, is surrounded by worshippers. Some are kneeling, most touching the stone, or standing in reverent silence, creating a powerful and moving scene. The shared devotion in the air is palpable, reminding us of the deep significance this place holds for so many people. A portrait on the wall depicts the last 3 stations of the Via Dolorosa. Jesus dies on the cross, Jesus is taken down from the cross, and Jesus is laid in the tomb. We made our way through the crowd to reach the Rotunda. Having already gone inside, we'll take a video clip of the Aedicule, situated in the center of the Rotunda from the outside. The Aedicule, located at the center of the Rotonda, is the core of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where the tomb of Jesus lies. Earlier, we quickly entered the Aedicule, since there were hardly any visitors present. At this point, a long line of pilgrims is waiting for just a few moments inside the core of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where the tomb of Jesus lies. We will forever appreciate the opportunity to enter the Aedicule, see it firsthand, and touch the stone slab that signifies the burial place of Jesus, which we feature in Day 2, Part 1 of our vlog. The Rotunda in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is surrounded by different sections and altars belonging to various Christian denominations. We are on the east side of the Rotunda, where the Catholicon is located, the main church of the Greek Orthodox community. The Catholicon serves as a focal point for worship and houses an altar for liturgical services, as well as important relics. It plays a vital role in the religious life of Greek Orthodox Christians and has undergone various restorations throughout its history. We have just one more section to revisit in the Holy Church of the Sepulchre to finish our path along the Via Dolorosa. This area of the church features commemorations of 3 significant events. Religious items are available for purchase in this area. As we retraced our steps back to the area of the Stone of Unction, we gaze at the Aedicule once more, perhaps for the final time, though we hope it isn't. The church is still bustling with people, each contributing to the atmosphere of devotion and reflection. When we visited earlier and found the place nearly empty, the experience felt profoundly serene and intimate. The stillness allowed us to reflect deeply and connect personally with the sacred surroundings. It was as if time stood still, creating a space for quiet contemplation and spiritual connection. In contrast, now that the church is bustling with visitors, the atmosphere is vibrant and alive, filled with the energy of shared devotion and reverence. The sounds of prayer, conversation, and footsteps echo throughout the space, reminding us of the diverse tapestry of faith that this holy site embodies. Experiencing both the tranquility of solitude and the lively presence of fellow pilgrims has enriched our visit, allowing us to appreciate the depth and breadth of devotion within these walls. Each moment, whether quiet or filled with activity, offers a unique opportunity to engage with the sacred and reflect on the journey of faith that unites so many. This stone is part of the natural stone of Golgotha, also known as the Rock of Calvary, where the crucifixion is traditionally believed to have taken place. For a detailed look at this particular section of the church, check out Day 2, Part 1 of our vlog. We've only finished the first half of our second day in Israel. There's still the other half to go, and with 5 days in total, there's a lot more to cover, but we're getting closer to completing our documentation of the entire trip. The opportunity to walk the Via Dolorosa was a profound experience. Being able to walk this path in a time of calm felt like a privilege. Now, in light of the challenges that have since unfolded, the memories hold even greater significance. It served as a poignant reminder of the importance of peace and understanding in a world often marked by conflict. This experience has become a cherished part of our spiritual journey, a source of inspiration that we carry with us as we navigate the complexities of life and faith.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit bell button of Antonia for more videos.